In 5, 4, 3, 2.
I don't know.
I don't either, but we all know we're all on the same wavelength.
We were on the same wavelength. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the number one podcast in the world, Confessions Podcast. Don't fact check that. That's 100% true. You can trust our words. And today is a very special day for a number of reasons, but one of them is because it's another episode of the Confessions Podcast, number one podcast in the world. And we are joined today with Brother Jerome. He's back. He's back from the dead.
It's crazy how just missing a week feels like so long. I feel like I've missed out on so much, but it's like, dang, it's just one time.
And he's 1 degree hotter.
1 degree hotter.
Yeah.
On my way.
But as always, joined by your co-hosts, Father Derek, Brother Jerome, Raju, and I don't even know if I should be saying Father anymore. Should I be saying Father Derek?
Oh yeah, I forgot. We read that in the last.
It's been my nickname. Yeah, that was last week.
Yeah.
That's been last week. So I don't know. Drop a poll in the comments if
I'm going to get my Biblia.
Go ahead and do like a test run of previously on Confessions Podcast, so I can catch up on that too. What's up with the Father? There is it like a slander or something like that? Or,
No. So last week we were in the Book of Matthew. For all of those that watched last week, we were in the Book of Matthew, and we're in chapter 23, I believe. And Jesus is talking, and he's saying, "Do not be called Rabbi, for there is only one Rabbi, and that's Christ." And then he says, "No one." Do not call anyone Father, because there is only one Father, and that's the Father who is in heaven. And then it was like, do not be called leaders, because there's only one leader, and his name is Christ. And but specifically, he said, do not call anyone on earth Father, because there's only one Father, and he's in heaven.
And that actually brought up an interesting question that Derek mentioned.
Yeah.
With Catholic churches, because we call the priest Father. You know?
Oh, that's what I was thinking about.
And I was. My opinion was it's kind of contradicting, because I like to follow what the Biblia says, right? And I mean, if God, this is God's word, and if God calls us to do something, then
here I'll read it exactly so that you can have the full context. This is in Matthew 23, it starts at verse 8. But do not be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. Do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father, he who is in heaven. Do not be called leaders, for one is your leader, that is Christ.
So
that's Jesus talking. That's the red letters.
What was y'all's answer to the Catholic question?
Well, that was more a question for him, because I don't know, because I'm not Catholic. You know.
What did you think about it?
How I mentioned. Because there's a lot of contradicting things when it comes to the actual Bible, the Word, and what a lot of man-made things are. And I believe in a previous chapter as well, it says it warned us against like man-made rules or man-made laws that we
so the title was Truth Over Tradition.
Yeah,
exactly.
So like, for example, just to tell you just to give us more examples of exactly what he's talking about, because he's talking about in here he said, woe to you blind guides, whoever swears by the temple, that is nothing, but whoever swears by the gold of the temple is obligated. You fools and blind men, which is more important, the gold or the temple that sanctified the gold? And then it says, whoever swears by the altar, that is nothing, but whoever swears by the offering on it, he is obligated. You are blind men, which is more important, the offering or the altar that sanctifies the offering? And then he pretty much continues to go down. He says that you have neglected the weightier provisions of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness, but these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. And so, and then I like this verse right here, where verse 25, it says, woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean inside the cup and of the dish, so that the outside may become clean also. And he says, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and uncleanness. So you too outwardly appear righteous to men, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness.
And to finish my point, like I said, there's a lot of man-made laws, man-made rules that we quote unquote follow, right? But kind of what the previous chapter was alluding to, like, what's the whole purpose behind those rules? And that's not to go to say that those rules that were made, those traditions that were made, have bad intent. I think it's a good entry level for any follower of Christ. So, but once you start becoming more wise and more knowledgeable in the word of God, I think that starts to open your eyes more to, like, hey, this is what the bigger picture is. This is the actual meaning behind fasting for Lent, or I don't know about the father thing. That's, like I said, that's another contradicting thing. Those are the two main things that I can think of off the top of my brain. But how I mentioned previously, if God in the Bible calls us to fast for Lent, to not eat meat on Fridays, then so be it. Like, I'm all for it. If God calls us to not call anyone but Him Father, then so be it. Like, I'm all with it, you know? And I guess that's an interesting question that I would like to ask a priest.
That's what I was gonna say. I wonder what they would say.
And I wonder what they would say, you know,
And if you
because
showed them the exact, like, hey, it says right here.
we have knowledge now. We have actual, like, this is what God calls us to do. So which one is it, you know? And I don't know. It's an interesting topic.
Or is a priest the same thing as a father, or are they different?
No, yeah, it's the same
I
thing,
guess
but
you can call 'em
but
priest.
we usually call them like
Their name.
Father Ray,
Yeah.
Father this, Father Derek, you know.
Yeah. And then what is this? Probably just like a weird, not even related. But what about when you're talking about your dad and you use father? Is that
Obviously,
different?
so whenever he's talking about him, remember he says, don't be called rabbi, don't be called leader. So he's talking about people who are specifically in a position of authority within the church. And he actually goes on to say, he says, whoever is the best of you will be your servant. Like, you'll serve first. And it says, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted. And so it's pretty much saying that you're not supposed to put yourself in that position. You're just supposed to be a servant. Like, if you are someone who knows more, who's been a Christian for longer, who, you know what I mean, who has that calling, you're not supposed to put yourself in this position. You're supposed to put yourself underneath everyone to serve people. That's your calling. And that's the whole point of what he was saying. Because the Pharisees and the scribes were the ones that were saying that they were holier than thou. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not the point. The point isn't to try to put yourself above people. You're supposed to be with the people
And serve them. And I think there's many real world examples. Jesus Christ himself is the biggest example of them all. You know, he came and he was serving the people. He wasn't sitting high and mighty upon his throne. You know, he was coming over here serving everyone, right? And naturally they followed him. Naturally they put him in that position of leadership, the King of Kings, you know, when he was over here humbling himself and serving everyone.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest
And I
things
think that's
that I follow.
powerful.
Yeah, just let your actions and everything that you do talk for you, and let people portray you that way. Don't put yourself in that position of power. That's one thing that I've learned a lot.
And it naturally comes.
Yeah, it naturally comes. As soon as if you chill, like, I still have people talk about it for me, and even then, it kind of makes me feel some type of way when people are talking about me, and then like saying good things about me, and I'm like, dang, I appreciate it, but then, like, it could easily just all fall, right? And it's like, well, I'm not the one that put me up there, y'all did, so the fall would be that much more harder because they put me up there, and I'm like, nah, like, keep me down here with y'all, and that way if I fall, it's like, oh, it's like a trip, it's not like a crash.
I heard there's like a specific saying, and I could be misquoting it, but it's like, it goes like, I'm a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody. And it's like, people, as you mentioned, they can put you on a pedestal because they see you, and it's not even in a negative connotation, but, you know, it could be a family member, or a friend or something like that. and they will put you on a pedestal because they see you doing well. And by doing that, I think the danger of it is they put it on you. Meanwhile, you recognize that it's not you who's great, it's God who's great. And because God's great, he makes you great. And it's like, I can't take credit for anything, right? I can't take the credit for any of the success I have. I can't take credit for any of my accomplishments, maybe for the way that I carry myself, my confidence. Those things, I can't take credit for any of that, because as we've talked about before, leaning on your own understanding, that has led me down the worst possible path, like where I was the least confident, where I was struggling the most financially, emotionally, and with my confidence, everything. That's what led me down that road, was leaning on my own understanding. But as I've grown my faith, that's been able to enable me to live and get closer to God, and he carries me up. He uplifts me. He makes me feel like I'm strong enough, as a son of the Most High. It's kind of like if you're talking to a kid who has a very wealthy father, and he's just like, well, my daddy owns this place. Like, I can do what I want. You know what I mean? My dad owns this place. And, that's kind of how I feel. It's like, me, myself, maybe I'm not that great, right? But my daddy owns this place. My daddy's God. So because of him, I can be great. But that's the problem with being put on a pedestal, is that it's like, guys, I don't want to be put on a pedestal. You know what I mean? It's my God.
Because it's not me.
It's not me.
Put God on a pedestal. Cause
Yeah.
The reason that's all happening is because of him.
And that leads to the problem of comparison. And it's like, you can try to compare yourself to me, but at the end of the day, I'm human just like you. I'm a sinner. I mess up all the time, and we can all say it, like we're our harshest critics, and we have our struggles. We have the things that we go through that make us doubt ourselves at times. We're human just like everyone else. And so trying to compare yourself to me, it doesn't make much sense, because as good as you say I'm doing, that I might appear I'm doing, I'm human just like you. I just serve a great God. And that's the only difference. And maybe you serve God as well too, but maybe you say you love God, but following him's another thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think for me, my confidence, my success, everything is tied to my faith. Everything. So when I talk about it, the first thing I point to is God. And I think once you're able to get to that point, that's whenever you recognize, oh, okay, you know what? I can be more confident. I can feel, a little bit better about myself, but it's not because of me, it's because of God.
I think, for me at least, I don't mind being put on that pedestal, just because somebody's got to be the bad guy. And I take inspiration from two people, one being Batman. I think of the Dark Knight in the movie, where at the end of the movie they killed Harvey Dent, right? Because he ended up being the White Knight, the one that put away all criminal, or majority of criminals. He did it correctly, following the law and everything, and then he turned bad. And then eventually it came down to him fighting Batman, whatever. He ends up dying. And Jim Gordon and Batman were like, well, Jim Gordon was questioning Batman, like, what do we do now? Like, everything's going to fall apart now. And Batman said, blame it on me. Say that I killed him, that I did this. This is all on me. I'll be the bad guy. I'm whatever the people need me to be. Then the second example that I take upon is Jesus Christ himself. When he was crucified, he took upon the weight of the world, all our sins. He said, allow me to be the sacrificial lamb for my people. And that's how kind of I take that upon myself when I'm put on a quote-unquote pedestal. Allow me to be the sacrificial lamb. Allow me to be the bad guy if needed. I'm whatever my people need me to be. And that's taking inspiration from the Almighty, the King of Kings, because I'm not doing it to empower me. I'm doing it to serve my people. Heavy is the crown whoever it's bestowed to. and it's all through faith. It's all through God, because I feel as if I like to believe that God called us. God called me to be put in that position. So be it. If I have to be put on a pedestal, if someone needs to be the fall guy, if we need to point the finger, so be it. Allow me to be the sacrificial lamb. And I think those are two great examples. And I mean, the greatest of them all, Jesus Christ, when he took the fall for all of us, all our sins, and King of Kings. That simple.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from, and I think that's a good perspective to have and to carry, especially as someone who does aspire to be like Christ, and that we want to serve our people, and I would like to be able to do that. And part of the thing of servanthood is, it's kind of like how Jesus said in the same chapter, where he's like, whoever humbles himself will be exalted, whoever exalts himself will be humbled. Like, and it says that the best, not word for word, but it says like the best of you, the greatest of you will be the ones who will be the servants, right? And so I think that naturally, I think we are three examples, without trying to glaze too much, but I think we're three examples of men who are, the some of the ones called to be the servants, right? And what's funny is that it's kind of how it's the same thing in Matthew, where it's talking about how whoever is last will be first, whoever is first last. But I think that's because we understand that the dynamic of the kingdom is for the people who are at the top not to stay at the top and leave everyone else behind, but it's being at the top so that we can make our way down to the bottom and help everyone else grow. And so I think that's very powerful. And I think whenever you do see people, I think people are more outspoken about their faith these days.
Yep.
And what I like about that is, especially whenever there's celebrities or athletes and they're open about it, and it's cool to see, because it's like, how many people that are gonna be open to Christ because their favorite singer, their favorite athlete, football player, whatever, is talking about Christ. I think that's great.
100%.
I've noticed that too, that people are outspoken about their faith. But what I have noticed recently is that people still only go to God or pray or say that my God is great when they need it, when something bad is happening or they need some kind of breakthrough. Kind of reminds me of this quote I seen where it said, "The Bible is for your daily bread, not a cake at a party." So you're supposed to be reading it every day when things are going good and bad. We emphasize this all the time, but it's still like when people only go to God when they need something, and I feel like that's the biggest downfall for a lot of people, is because when they get what they want, they immediately go back to the way they were living before, doing what they were doing. They know it's bad, but they're going to continue to do it. They got what they wanted from God, right? They got what they wanted from him. Now it's like, okay, I'm done with you. But it's like, no, it's not supposed to be like that. You pray for him all the time, and then when something bad happens, say, I'm not worthy for it, but if you want to help me out here, then I'll accept it. But
Yep.
I feel like a lot of people just go to him for when they need something, and I've been seeing that a lot.
100%. And man, this makes me think of two things that I've been actually recently going through. I know just last week I was talking to Derek about this. I was like, man,
Hey, real quick, Cowboy Connor 33 followed us on Twitch.
shout out.
Appreciate
Connor
you, brother.
Cowboy.
Appreciate you, brother Connor Cowboy, or Cowboy Connor.
Boy, Connor. He must be from Texas.
I was talking to Derek about this last week, where I was getting blessed. I've been being blessed with work, with of course finances, with just overall growth. And I was mentioning to Derek, man, like, I don't feel worthy of it. I don't feel like I deserve this. And other than that, I'm like, God bless. Like, I can't thank him enough, right? Then the other night, I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and we were having this conversation where, because I've been fatigued, bro. My body has genuinely been tired. And she was trying to tell me about, like, well, maybe you should rest. Like, you don't have to carry the weight of the world all the time and stuff. And I started thinking about it. I was like, she was like, well, you got to realize, like, what you're doing is enough. And I started thinking about it. I was like, I believe I have more to give. And maybe my people don't think that. Maybe my people think it's enough, but I know I have more to give, and I like to believe that God knows, like, I can still push myself, that I still have more to give, and that just makes me overall think, like, I can still push.
I could relate to
If
that.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I
you know?
relate
And
because
don't get it wrong, I'm tired, and I want to get rest. I do, genuinely, but I know, and if I know, God knows, then I think there's a farther limit. I haven't hit my limit yet. I can still go more. You know, I still have more to grow. I still have more to give to God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both know that, you know? And I think that's why he allows us to go through these trials, through these tribulations, to see the true amount that how much we can grow, our truest potential. And it may sound a little crazy, may sound a little delusional, but I don't know. I just believe, like, no, I haven't given it out my all yet. There's still more to give. It's not enough yet.
I hear you.
I can still grow. I can still do better.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And real quick, Connor or Cowboy Connor say, "Can I talk about my past?" All right, I guess so. Just type in the comments, and then we'll see.
we'll read it here in a
We'll read
bit.
it. We'll read
Feel
it.
free.
But I understand what you're saying, and I think there's a quality trait of athletes that is obsession, right? Being obsessed with being the best version of yourself as possible. And I remember I heard this thing about Conor McGregor, and he was talking about how he's like, it was whenever he was back in, you know, in his prime days, and he was talking about how he didn't even want to be outside of anywhere but in the octagon. He's like, if it doesn't have to do with the fight business, then it's not my business. He's like, there's people that want to go home and be with their families and see their wife and see their kids and do all these great things. And he's like, for me though, it's like, this is where I find my peace. He's like, this is where I want to be at the whole time. It's like, I find my calmness. I find myself here. I want to be here. It's not even that I feel like I need to be. It's that I want to be. And I think that obsession that athletes have with being the best version of themselves, I think it's also something that we experience in our own ways with our relationship with God. I think the fact that we know that we're so infinitely ignorant and that there's an infinite amount of room to continue to grow. There's so many things to learn. There's so many ways to continue to be better. And we know that the vehicle towards that is being closer to God, reading the word. And I think it's our version of being in the octagon, of training all the time, is like getting closer to God. It's like, I think that it's like a never ending desire, because we know that that's the path towards who we want to be. And eventually, you know, the success, the greatness that'll come with it, it's only through God. And so I understand the feeling of like, God, I need to get closer. God, I need to get closer. I need to get closer to you. But it's not because of, you know, the outside, but just getting closer to God in general. It's like, I understand, because now what I used to think about be a bunch of different random things, right? Like my overall day would be, well, let me think about work. Let me think about football. Let me think about fighting. Let me think about this, that, and the other. But now the overarching theme every single day is, man, how can I get closer to God?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm being completely honest, maybe Raul Crowd does have a limit, and I believe God knows that limit. I just have yet to hit it yet, you know? And especially on those days where I'm fatigued, I'm tired, my whole body's all sore, I'm mentally fatigued, I still believe that God knows, like, Raul, he's talking to me in a way like, Raul, keep going. You still got more in you. You still got more, you know? And it's just something that we have to keep on striving for, you know?
Yeah. And it's weird because people say, like, always find that balance. Like, find that balance. And I hear it and I understand it. But I think there are some times where the balance is 100. You know what I mean? Like,
95.
Go all in.
95,
Yeah.
or 100.
Like, I got to go all in. I got to give it my all, because there's a couple of reasons why, but one is because no one's gonna do it except for you. No one's gonna do it how you're gonna do it. So if and you can't rely on anyone but yourself. So on the one hand, you got to do it because you got to do it, but at the end of the day, it's like whenever you're trying to do something that's extraordinary, it requires an extraordinary amount of effort, time, energy. And so while most people can maybe balance something that's a little bit more ordinary, then okay, yeah, you can give it the 50-50. But in our case, it's like we want to be extraordinary. So we understand that in order to be extraordinary, you have to do extraordinary things.
And it goes back to that popular verse, lean not on your own understanding. Like if I were to lean on my own understanding, my own thoughts, Raul Corral would say, you know what, you're good, just chill for the day, chill for the week, just take days off, whatever. But that other voice in my head says, fuck that. I know that I've yet to hit my limit. And I believe since I know, God knows. And that's what I'm saying. Like, God, I feel the closer that we do grow to God, God calls us to learn more, to grow more. And it's just never ending growth, really.
I think it's one of those things where it's like God put these desires in my heart for a reason. And for some reason, maybe I feel like I'm one of them that's chosen, that I need to get higher. I need to achieve more, not because I want to praise myself, but because I want to uplift more people. And that's the whole goal of Christianity. That's the whole goal of being a follower of Christ is, yeah, you know what? I want to be able to have these great accomplishments, but it's so that I can give back to the people that need it most. And so that's kind of what you're alluding to earlier about being on that pedestal. The whole point of all these accomplishments, all these things that we want to achieve is so that we can give back to the people that we love and then help out whoever is needing help.
I think the funnest part of that would be like having little kids or your younger cousins, or when your nieces and nephews look up to you and you made it, you're in a good spot, and you're a testimony to them, like, hey, I was in your shoes once. I was bottom of the bottom. I was in the trenches, and look, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the, like, you hear that with like the stories of prisoners, they turn their life around, or your dad, my dad, they're already in their 40s, your parents are hard workers and they're already older, right? And for us to be in their spot, or even better, because our parents you always said your dad is the only one that wants you to be better than them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're better than our parents, and we have these young people looking up to us and be like, hey, we were bottom of the barrel, and if we did it, you can do it too. And I think that'll be like the biggest, for me, that'll be like the I did it moment. People could look up to me, people can ask me questions, because I'm not no better than you. I was in your shoes, but through God, hard work, perseverance, grit, you can do it too. And that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most.
I like to believe that those are the rewards we'll get for all the hard work, all the hard effort that we put in. I have a good question for you guys, because she asked me this that same time. She asked me, well, Raul, when are you going to know it's enough then? When do you guys know it's enough? That you can say, you can sit back and be like, I gave it my all, I did it.
I don't know. I think the exciting part about this is that we know that this is only a small part of the rest of what we're going to experience. And we know death isn't the end, it's the beginning, right? And so I think that it's always inching towards that. But I think whenever we can sit back, God willing, we make it to old age, right? But I think it's once we can sit back and say, you know what, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Like, I'm ready to die. I think I've done. And I think that comes with, for example, in my mind, I mean, there's always something else that you could be chasing and achieving. But I think at some certain point, it's like, I've done enough. Like, I've done a lot. Like, what else is there for me to do? And I don't know. It's kind of like how can equate it sort of to sports, where it's like let's say LeBron, right? It's like, bro, you've been in here for 20 something years. You've won the championships, you won the MVPs, you own all the titles, the scoring titles, and all that, the points. What else is there for you to do? You've inspired the next generation. You know, there's people all around the world in and outside of your sport that look up to you. And so if you want to ride off into the sunset, then so be it. But I think that you'll assume a brand new role, right? You'll no longer be a player, but you'll be a mentor, maybe an analyst or something like that. But I think that's the natural progression. Is like right now, I think we're players, right? We're trying to prime ourselves so that we can, have longevity in this career. But eventually, it'll be time for us to assume a new role. And now it's just, all right, let's give back. Let's try to mentor this younger generation and try to help them get to the point where they're, where they surpass us and they do even more things that we did. And our job is just to support them. And I think that's whenever we see them and they're able to move, and for example, our kids, and we'll see them and they're able to sustain themselves. They live on their own and they're doing their own thing. They're chasing God. They're accomplishing great things. And it's like, you know what? I've done my job. My kids, they don't need me no more. You know what I mean? And so I think that's whenever I'll be able to look back and say, you know what? It's been a good ride. But I think I'm ready to go. But I hope I genuinely do want to be able to make it to that point. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure. I think for me as well, it'll be where, of course, spiritually, where God tells me He knows me at the gates of heaven. That'll be like, all right, I did it, right? But here on the real world, flesh world, it'll be for me all the things that I didn't have as a kid that I have for myself and for my future kids. It's things as simple as, all right, just having a house, right? Sending my kids to college, not living paycheck to paycheck, maybe going on a few trips here and there, right?
Mm.
Being able to do those things without worrying like, dang, what are we going to eat? Where are we going to shower? Not worrying about their clothes or anything like that. To me, that's when I'm like, okay, I can not chill, but I made it. I could take a breather. And now let's see what else my role is. I'm going from a player to a mentor. Like one of my goals now, and I just thought about it recently, is I would like to make a scholarship, right? Because SBC, Plainview High School, they did a lot for me, and what better way to give back than make a scholarship? And I was thinking about a scholarship like first generation, Hispanic kids, that want to pursue STEM. They want to be a doctor. They want to be, scientist, an engineer, physicist, something like that, and make a scholarship for them because hey, I was there once, and that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I make it, I'm like, hey, let me help y'all out now. And that's one of my goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then that could be like, okay, this is what it was all for. This is what I was working towards.
Yeah,
I think that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I have a vision, and I'm on my piece of land. Sun is setting, fat crib in the back, and my family's just there waiting. My people are there just waiting for me, waiting for to start the dinner, right? I'm on my horse, button up, cowboy hat, buttons open, chest out. My pooch to the left of me, walking with me and my horse. And it's peace. All I feel is just peace. And there's, like, don't get it wrong, life isn't perfect. There's always going to be problems, but I know that all my people are good, that not only myself, but my friends have made it, and my family never has to worry about anything because I'm there. And I'll just be looking off to the sunset and take a deep breath, and like at that moment I can be like, I can die in peace. I'm good. Like, said it all, done it all. Fat crib in the back, wifey, children, my homies are good, my siblings are good, my parents, they can, God willing, if they grant me that amount of time with them, they can look at me or look down to me and be proud of me, and I can call it a day. 6-car garage too. But that's when it'll be enough for me. And it's not just with the materialistic things, it's just that peace knowing that my people are good. Like, they're set. and they'll never have to worry.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of like if I were to pass away, then all the systems are in place. You know what I mean? It's not like imagine you're like still building and you need to be a part of it for it to function or everything's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
That'd be a terrible time for like, ah, shoot, how are they gonna take care of themselves? They need me. But then I think once you get to that point where it's like, you know what, they don't even need me no more. Like I'm like if I were to die today, they're all taken care of. I think that's kind of what you're alluding to.
And I think how both y'all mentioned at that very moment, I don't know if I'll need to turn that off, but I will here in a bit. How both of y'all mentioned at that moment, I'm no longer the student. I become the master, you know. I become the teacher,
Yeah.
you know. And it's time. Like my time it's done. Let me help the next generation.
Yeah.
And whether that's, of course, my kids or y'all's kids, you know, or random kids out there in the streets that we're helping out, you know, because I believe that all of us we can say this, but we want to dip our toes into philanthropy.
Yeah.
You know, being able to give back to people that are in need, communities in need, and potentially even like how you're mentioning our roots, where we came from. You know, I think that's a very beautiful thing that I believe I can say for all of us that we're striving for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think it's part of the, at least in my eyes, where I say, you know, God makes me great. That's my daddy. You know what I mean? My daddy owns the place. But I think it's also, it's like, because God takes care of me and he's taking care of me, I'm going to take care of my community. You know what I mean? And so I think that's part of where it's like, you know what? God's taking care of me. He's my daddy. This is my home. I'm going to take care of this place. No, I want to take care of it because I know God's taking care of me, and y'all have, this community is a part of making me who I am today, kind of how you and Jeremy are saying. And so it's one of those things where it's like they can look towards me or you, and they can say, hey man, like he takes care of us. You know what I mean? Like he's done great, but he's never forgotten about us and never forgotten about, you know, who was there.
And then just the story, the beautiful story, I know you alluded to this, where they're able to look at us and be like, bro, they were just like us.
They walked in these high school halls.
They walked in, we're in the same shoes, you know, we're coming from nothing. They were able to do it, you know. That means that we can do it too. It's possible.
Yeah.
They showed us.
No silver spoon needed.
No
Just hard work and God.
But with that being said, I think it is time we actually get into the word today.
Real quick though, whose turn was it to pray? Is it me?
Oh shoot! Yeah, it is.
I think you did last time.
I did last time. It is your turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Also, who's that? Danzig said, "God's glory and grace, He gives us mercy." Amen.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen.
All right. I'm going to say a quick prayer. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day. Thank you for allowing me to be here with my brothers, reading and digesting your word and spreading the word to other people who may need it. I keep praying over our end of hours that we're doing, Roll's business, Derek's real estate, me with my internship and school coming up, and anything else that we don't talk about. I pray that you keep flourishing those and be with our families and heal them and give them the strength for anything that they don't talk about. Also pray for some rain. We need some rain here in West Texas because we've been having some wind and wildfires. If it's in your will, we would love it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. But as I mentioned, we're starting a brand new book today, and we're going to be in the book of Genesis, starting in chapter 12. We finished Proverbs without you last week, Jeremy. So I'm sad you missed it, but at least you're here. I'm excited for us to all start in the Genesis chapter 12, the story of Abraham. And I think the story of Abraham is where I kind of point at as the start of like the covenant God made with us. And whenever Jesus talks to the Pharisees, he's like, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. It always starts with Abraham. We call it the Abrahamic religion and the Abrahamic covenants. And so I think Abraham, I think Abraham's a great place for us to start in Genesis. So for all of y'all that are out there, open your books to Genesis chapter 12, and we'll start. And I'll go ahead and start, and we can just read this whole chapter. It's not that long at all. So Abram's journey to Egypt. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from your country and from your relatives and from your father's house to the land which I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and so you shall be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth will be blessed." So Abram went forth as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. Now Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his nephew, and all their possessions which they had accumulated, and the persons which they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan. Thus they came to the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem to the oak of Moreh. Now the Canaanite was then in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. Then he proceeded from there to the mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. Abram journeyed on, continuing towards the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land. So Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. It came about when he came near Egypt that he said to Sarai his wife, "See now, I know that you are a beautiful woman, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife,' and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me because of you, and that I may live on account of you." It came about when Abram came into Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. Therefore, he treated Abram well for her sake, and gave him sheep and oxen and donkeys, and male and female servants, and female donkeys and camels. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Then the Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go." Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they escorted him away with his wife and all that belonged to him.
That's interesting.
Genesis chapter 12.
I think we received a follow or something
Received a follow.
on Twitch, I think.
Let me see.
But
Got 7 people in the live on YouTube.
yo,
Appreciate that, brother. But so I think one of the biggest things I always point to this chapter, because this covenant that God makes with Abram, who becomes Abraham later, the covenant that he makes with him, he says, "Go forth from your country, from your relatives, and from your father's house to a land which I will show you." And I think it's very easy to kind of skip over that and just read, "And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and so you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth will be blessed." I think we can skip that first part, or we tend to, and just look at the promises. God says he's going to make you great. He's going to make you a great nation. You're going to be a blessing to the families in the earth. The ones who bless you will be blessed. The ones who curse you will be cursed, right? But God gives him a specific instruction and he says, "Go forth from your country, from your relatives, and from your father's house to a land which I will show you." He's given him a command to leave from the place where he was born, leave from the place where he has found comfort his whole life. Why is he doing that? My opinion, I think what he's trying to tell Abram is that you here, you can only grow so much, but I have a greater calling for you. But in order for you to get there, I need you to take a step of faith and go somewhere. He doesn't tell him, "I'm going to take you to this place," right? He says, "Go to a land and I'll show you. I'll show you where to go." But he's saying, leave the house of your father. Leave the house of your relatives. You need to get out of the place where you've grown up. And trust in me to lead you. Give me enough of your trust that I'm going to take you somewhere. And because you trust in me, I'm going to make your name great. I will bless those who bless you. And so I think one of the biggest things, this is called the Abrahamic covenant, and it falls to us as, I guess, as he says here, he said, "Your descendants I will give this land." He made this promise to Abram. He made this promise to him. And so it's something that we also fall under too. So he's also saying, "Raul, I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. Jeremy, I'll make your name great. You will be a blessing." This isn't just something that was a one-off thing. This is something that's for all of us as believers. But I think we have to do exactly what God commanded Abraham to do. And that's leave your comfort zone and put your trust in him to lead you down the path that he has set for you. I think it's easy to stay where, back at home. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone. It's easy to stay in the house of your family that you've always grown up with, and stay around the people that you've grown up with, stay in the town that you've grown up with. But at the same time, I think we would all say that I had outgrown Plainview. I needed to leave because I had done everything that I could. I maxed out my stats there in Plainview, and there's nothing else that I could want to achieve there in that town. And I had to take a journey out. I had to step out. Not just because I was like, well, I want to forget about this place, but because I know that I need to grow. I know there's more out there for me. And so I left. And I came to Lubbock. May not seem that far, but it's a big difference.
Especially with the way Lubbock's growing anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but I think by me taking that step of faith, stepping out of the comfort of my parents, right? Now, the only person I have to trust in is God. And he's leading me somewhere. Do I know where? No. Yeah, I'm leading, because man, imagine you're at home, you got your parents' house, you got your family, you got your comfy job. You know what I mean? You got all the people that you grew up with, all the people that you know about. But whenever you're going somewhere where you don't know, it's like, shoot, now I got to find work. Now I'm going to be around people I don't know. Now I'm going to go down a path in life. Who knows what the heck's going to happen? The only thing that I can do is put my faith in God that he's going to guide my steps. And that's part of the Abrahamic covenant is you got to put your faith in God and get out of your comfort zone and put your trust in him, put your faith in him that he's going to guide you where you need to go. And that's exactly what he tells Abram, and that's what he does. He takes his wife, he takes his nephew, and they journey. And of course, it says that they went to Canaan, then they passed through and they went to Setshem and Moreh, and then they went to Bethel, and then they went, you know what I mean? They were going all over the place, and then they encountered a famine, and so he went down to Egypt, and then this is one of the things where it's like, okay, Abram was human like us, and he made a bad call, and what he did was he said to his wife, "Hey, if I say you're my wife, they're gonna want to take you from me, and they're gonna kill me." The Pharaoh, right? And so I need you to say that you're my sister. They say that you're my sister, then they'll keep me alive, and I'll be able to stay with you. So he does that, and so the Pharaoh tries to take his wife from him, not knowing that, hey, that's his wife, and take her as his own wife. And whenever that happens, God what does it say? It says that the Pharaoh and his house was struck with great plagues because he took a wife that wasn't his. That was Abraham's wife. And so he had messed up. He made a mistake, right? And the Pharaoh said, "Why did you do this? Why didn't you tell me that this was your wife? Because you didn't tell me that this was your wife. Now God is striking plagues upon me. Take your wife and go." Right? And so I think this is just a part where we could see that Abraham is human too. He was a man, and he made a bad call. And I don't know. I think it's interesting that it's included, because I think we can think about these people, right? Like, for example, Abraham or David or something like that. And we think about them as great prophets, and they really are the greatest prophets. But they were human, and they made a lot of very iffy choices, a lot of questionable decisions. And this is just one example of Abram making not the best call.
Yeah, I think kind of how you touch base on, in my opinion, for this chapter, I think it's a good inspiration where God calls you to step out that comfort zone, exactly how you're mentioning. And I believe it's in Matthew, but how you're mentioning Abram didn't necessarily know like what is going to be the results. Hey, what's going to be ahead in this pathway? But I believe in Matthew, it says God guides our steps. And I can connect to this chapter. I think we can all connect to this chapter because we took a step towards growth, a step out of our comfort, which is our hometown, Plainview, right? And did we necessarily know that, hey, it's all going to be all sunshine and rainbows? Yeah, we're guaranteed this and that. We didn't know, right? But eventually, we were able to figure it out slowly but surely, and now look at us. Look how much growth that we've came after stepping out of our comfort zone and taking that path. And like I said, I like to believe, just like how it says in Matthew, that God guides our steps, and look at us now, and I make the analogy with lifting weights. First, you're squatting a plate, right? It's good. It's going up and down really easy, right? Then you throw on a second plate. It's real heavy. You can maybe do one, maybe. But since you're outside your comfort zone and you're living in that area, the area of the two plates, right? You keep on trying. And that's where the growth comes. And I believe, connecting it back to this chapter, that's where the greatness comes. That's where a great nation comes. And I think it's just inevitable for it to happen, and I think this is a good inspiration to take from Abram. When God calls you to step out your comfort zone, he's calling you to grow. He's calling you to do better, because God isn't going to lead you astray. He isn't going to lead you down towards like complete ugliness. He's not going to lead you towards there. Is he guaranteeing that it's going to be a perfect sunshine and rainbows path? No. You're going to have to go through adversities. And I think Abram going to Egypt with his wife, that's an example of one of the adversities he had to go through. That's a lesson he had to learn. Hey, maybe next time I should just probably say you're my wife instead of my sister, But I believe that a lot of growth came from it.
Yeah, and I think it's also that you could say this is a point where he lacked faith, and he got punished for it, because God told him he was going to lead him, and it led him to Egypt, and he's like, well, shoot, this is a human moment. Now it's like, crap, I could trust in God and just say, hey, you know what? God promised me this land, that he'll make my name great and everything. So you know what? I'm just going to trust in him. I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to move forward and trust in him entirely. And maybe by doing that, he would have been just okay, just fine, and still would have received blessings because of it. But because he decided to go his own way, put trust in his own self, it cost him that relationship with the Pharaoh, and it caused plagues to be sent down on this man that maybe he wasn't innocent, man, whatever, but the plagues that he got sent down, it wasn't necessarily his fault. He didn't know any better. So he had to pay a price that was unjust because Abram messed up. It was his fault. And so I think that's also a lesson. And you know what? God's telling you to go down this path. Trust in him. Trust that he's going to take care of you, and don't try to take over whenever something sounds hard and something it seems like, oh shoot, this is a hurdle that I don't think we're going to be able to overcome. I think that's also an example of just, you know what? If God's telling me that he's going to take care of me, shoot, I'm going to trust him. I'm not going to trust me. I'll trust him. I think that's a good lesson that we can take from that.
It clears it up. Now, I was a little iffy, like, on why the whole wife was mentioned and why he wanted to say that she was his sister. But it makes sense now, though. It's kind of like a test of faith, a test of truth. Like, hey, really trust that you're going to be okay and say that's your wife. If you're scared to die, then, oh, well. But like you said, maybe nothing would have happened. Maybe it would have just been fine. Maybe that would have helped the relationship even more.
Uh-huh.
And then I was thinking about, too, how getting out of your comfort zone, even if it is, like Lubbock, 45 minutes away, some would say down the street, and then comparing it to Rose weightlifting, I feel like if you've ever taken the gym seriously at all at any point in your life, you know how big of a jump a 2.5 is, right? When you're going from, a max and you do that clean, then you do it on a 2.5, all of a sudden it feels like you can't even do it. It's 2.5, it's 2.5 pounds, right? Something as little as that is a huge jump. So I think even if you are, moving down the street from your hometown or, in a medium-sized city, we might not be packing our bags, saving up every last penny, and moving to New York or Las Vegas like some people do. But it's a step in the right direction, and it is still hard. It's still a big jump. And I think that's commendable regardless. Just being on your own, especially in this economy, if you're making it work, then you're already doing better than people who are staying in their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think these are all good lessons to take from this.
And he's 75. That's crazy.
He's
I
75.
didn't know he was 75.
That in and of itself, bro.
Aren't the ages more like they go up to the hundreds now with some people?
Yeah. Like back in this day, they lived longer.
Yeah.
But I think even at that account, I mean, he's still an older man, right? And so I think about how that in and of itself, that's a lesson. I think even if you think that, you know what, my time's done, my time's passed, I'm well out of my prime, I'm not who I used to be, God will still use you. Even if you think that you're not worthy or you don't think you're capable, God, he'll still come and choose you and say, hey, you know what? I got a plan for you. You need to go out to a land that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to make your name great. And you might be thinking like, what the heck? 30 years ago, this would have been a great time to say this because I was like, I thought I was in my prime. I was ready for that. But it's not on, that's part of where it's not on your understanding. It's not your job to understand God's timing, but it's our job to just trust that, you know what, he says it's time. He says that it's my duty. All I can do is trust in him and just go down the path that he has set.
Exactly. And I think that's a great point for anyone that's maybe a little bit on the older side or maybe even on the younger side. You don't know. It's not based off your timing. Just have faith in God, take that step forward out of your comfort zone and trust in him and allow him to guide you in your steps.
I think society has a lot to do with the younger generation. They have, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds thinking their life is over just because they messed up one time. It's like, dude, no. It's crazy how you realize that when you're that age and you mess up, you're like, dang, I'm never going to recover from this, right? Then you get older and you look back and you're like, oh, dang, it really wasn't that bad. And my parents have told me, hey, it's all right. I messed up. I've done way worse than you at your age, and I'm fine. You're going to be okay too. And I think that the stigma of like, hey, if you don't do this by this time, putting timelines on ourselves. I think putting timelines on ourselves is the most toxic thing we can do, and it's only going to hurt us mentally. And then if it hurts you mentally, you're going to become discouraged. Now you're getting hurt physically, and you're like, you know what, I just give up at 20 years old, mid-20s, rather than like, you know what, take it on the chin, rub some dirt on it, and let's keep going. I think the timeline thing is the worst thing for mental health.
Yeah, and I think that this could just also be just an example of kind of tying this all together. It's never too late. Even if you think that, you know what, God's forgotten about me already. I'm 75 years old. He is 75 years old. Think about it. And so it's like, you know what, I think God's forgotten about me. I think that there's no saving me. You know, it's too late. I've already made too many mistakes. I've already done too many things that I can't take back. And I don't think God has a plan for me no more. And yet here he is, and he's telling you now at this point in your life, saying, you know what, I'm choosing you. I'm choosing you because he's given him a task. And mind you, what he's saying is that your descendants, I will give you this land. He says, I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Think about that. Think about the consequences of what Abram is going to do. Because God's choosing him to go on this task, he says that in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Now think about it. If Abraham said, I'm too old. I can't do it. Can't do it, God. You know what I mean? And think about now this promise that God had that would trickle down to all of us, right? Now it doesn't get fulfilled because Abraham, he could have said, hey, man, it's too late. I'm already too old. I'm 75. You know what I mean? What do I look like doing this? And I think that's part of the examples of, you know what, maybe God doesn't always choose the people who are worthy. God doesn't choose the people that are the most fit, that are the best for the job. God doesn't do that. He chooses the people who are willing. He chooses the people that, you know what, even if I feel like I'm not the right person for the job, you called me to do it, I'm going to do it. And because he followed through with this promise, now we get to receive the benefits of it. And so I think that's part of the lesson of learning that it's never too late. It's never too late, and you can't give up on what God has planned for your life. You can't put doubt towards, you know what, God, he hasn't used me yet. Where's my miracles at? Where's my calling at? Where's my position of authority? When am I going to get chosen? You never know whenever you're going to get chosen. And so I think that's why you got to be ready. You got to be ready for whenever God calls your number, you answer and say, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Doesn't matter if I feel like it's too late, if I'm too old, if I'm not smarter, if I'm not stronger, you know, like how I used to be. I'm ready for the call. Let's go.
Stay
Or
ready
if
so
we,
you don't gotta get ready.
Yeah, we always relate it to sports. If you're on the bench, you know, not expecting to play, you're just getting all, you know, it's a cold game. You're all sitting by the fire, the little heater, got your coat on. You're just watching the games, eating your sunflower seeds. Next thing you know, pitcher goes down, or whatever position you play.
Yeah. All right, Jeremy,
on.
you're up.
Yeah, and you're like, oh shoot, I'm not even ready.
Uh-huh.
All right, next one then. You know,
Yeah.
you weren't ready. All right, third string. Come on, you got to stay ready.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to think about, I think it's so much deeper than just that. It's like, what if your team really needed you at that point and you were capable of coming through for them, but you weren't ready, or you didn't think, well, not me, coach. I haven't played all season. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the consequences whenever God's calling you on a task, it's not about you. This is one thing that we literally just talked about. It's not about you. It's about you being able to help others and you being able to serve others. Because Abraham was loyal and he honored God's commandment. Now you think about all the blessings that are able to come to us because of it. So I think that whenever God calls us on a task, like you mentioned, we can't be, oh, I'm not ready. Hold on, give me some time to stretch. Give me some time to warm up. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I've been ready. I've been prepared, and I'm ready to serve the kingdom. And it's a greater purpose. It's a greater purpose than just you.
I'm glad we're starting in this this book now, getting a little bit of context and backstories of these people. I never knew, like, I mean, you hear these names, you hear about Abraham and, you know, Isaac and Peter, but I don't really know truly who any of them are.
Exactly.
Like that. Like, I didn't even know this guy was 75.
And this is Old Testament.
This is the Old Testament. Yeah.
Now we're becoming even more wiser.
More wise. And then whenever Jesus brings up Abraham, now we know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
But all right, let's go to Matthew.
I think we're on 24 now.
We are on 24, I believe.
Yeah.
I think you're correct. Yes. Yes, we're on 24. Jeremy, you didn't get to read it all last time. If you want to, dang, this is a long chapter.
Yeah, if you want to read like maybe half of it.
You could read like half of it or something like that. You could read through 28.
Yeah.
I think 28. Yeah.
Verse 28?
Yeah, you can read through 28.
Okay.
For everybody in the audience, subscribe. if you haven't
24.
already.
Matthew 24. The destruction of the temple and signs of the end times. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings. Do you see all these things? He asked. Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming, I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive, but for the sake of the elect those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, Look, here is the Messiah, or There he is, do not believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, There he is out in the wilderness, do not go out, or Here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather.
That's deep.
There's a lot.
I can go ahead and
to dive
finish
in.
29. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Mm-mm.
You want to read 30 and 31?
Shall I go
Well-
ahead and just finish off this story?
I say finish off that little
Yeah, go ahead.
section,
Yeah,
30, 31.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's deep.
there's a lot here. There's a lot of even I don't know.
I think a lot of people allude to this when they think of the end times. They
Mhm.
allude to this chapter right here.
I think I remember whenever I would hear about the end times, right? I'd be in fear. It used to scare me as a kid, thinking about all the things that would come and the wars,
Bro, I can relate to it
Antichrist.
because of the movie 2012. Y'all remember that
Yeah.
movie?
Which one?
2012? You remember
I
that
think
movie where it was
so.
like the end of the world? I was
Like
so
the
scared.
earthquake and all that.
The
Yeah.
end of the world. I remember like Left Behind. I remember that movie too. And it's just like I used to think about the end times, and there would be a lot of fear that come from that. But I think the biggest part of this is whenever Jesus says in verse 6, see that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end. And I think that when we talk about it, whenever we see Jesus talking about it, it's easy to get fearful. But what he's describing, right, is signs for us to pay attention to as believers. And I think that whenever Jesus does come, it won't be this, oh my gosh, it won't be like how it says here, where the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. Right? I don't think that we're going to be the ones that are mourning. I think we'll be the ones that are saying, "This is my God. Like my God, He's finally come back for us." If it happens in our time. But I think at the end of the day, what takes place at the end times is what's necessary. It's a part of a bigger plan, right? It's part of a bigger plan, and we know at the end of it, on the other side, is heaven on earth, and with Jesus taking his rightful spot as king. And I think that's more exciting to look forward to. I think it's more of a, it's kind of like how we say the times are going to get dark, right? Things are going to be hard. You're going to struggle, right? But you look at the other side, the rewards that are going to come forth from it. And so you're not so tunnel vision. You're not so stuck on what's taking place, because you know that there's something greater ahead. And so you know what? Things may be bad now, but don't get so caught up in all the things that are coming. I'm telling you ahead of time. These things are going to happen. But don't get caught up in it. Don't be the ones that are saying, "Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. I'm going to die. You know what I mean?" Don't be one of those people. Instead, say, these are the signs that we have been preparing for. It's part of that being ready. But we know that on the other side of this, man, I can't wait for it, because it's going to be heaven on earth with Jesus sitting on top of the throne. So that's now my new interpretation. Whenever I hear these things, and I'm like, you know what? Is it scary? Does it sound like something that's very scary that's going to happen? It does. But I'm not supposed to be scared. This isn't happening to frighten me. This isn't happening to scare me. It's happening because Jesus is fulfilling, God is fulfilling something that's much greater than you or I, than my understanding. It's kind of where we always go back to. Lean not on your own understanding, right? Seek first the kingdom of God, because he has a plan that we can't understand, we can't comprehend, we can't control it. But he's letting us know ahead of time, out of mercy. He's letting us know ahead of time, so let's be prepared for whenever that time does come. We're right with God, and we're not one of those people who gets left behind. We're not one of those people who doesn't get to go to heaven and experience the new earth, the new Israel with Jesus on top.
And I like kind of how you're mentioning, I believe that this chapter is overall making us aware and preparing us for those times to come. And I like how it kind of touches base where it says like many will come forth and say that they're the prophet, that they're the Messiah, but he's telling us not to believe that we'll be able to tell that it's him. Let me see where it says.
27.
For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it says, I don't know where it says, but I've heard it a few times. We're not going to know. We're not going to know necessarily when it happens. There's going to be signs, for example, like the wars, the famines, and stuff like that, but we're genuinely not going to know when he does show up. It'll just kind of happen.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, then you'll know.
And you better be ready. You
Yeah,
better be
then
right
you'll
with God.
know.
Because when it starts happening, you're either on the team, you're on Team God, and you're like, yes, he's coming back finally, or you're like, oh crap, I was wrong.
And a thing,
you know what I mean?
a thing about also with that is we may not even see it, just because I know it's mentioning in verse 9 through 11, where many of us are going to be put to death. We will be hated upon, like throughout the nations, just solely because of his name, Jesus Christ's name. And I mean, you kind of see small tells now, and I don't think it's as bad as it was. I think it's actually getting a whole lot better, but it was shamed upon when we would talk about our faith, when we would talk about God, Jesus Christ. And I mean, it's just crazy to think about, but luckily for us now, we are able to be more open about our faith. We are able to talk more about him. And I think majority of people actually believe in him now more than ever.
And I think, part of that too is like, we got to understand what our purpose is here for. we're supposed to make this place ready for whenever Jesus comes back. We're like, the whole world is ready for him, right? Of course, we know that's not going to happen, but at the end of the day, like, we're supposed to be making this place prepared. We're supposed to be preparing for the return of the King, the one true King, and making this place where he comes back and he's rejoiced. You know what I mean? And so I think our purpose, our role in this is more significant than just, okay, I know this is going to happen, so make sure I'm good. It's supposed to be, I know this is happening, so I better help make sure that we lead as many people as possible towards Jesus, so that whenever he comes, everyone else gets to stay. Everyone gets to experience the glory of God. And so I think that's the whole point he's also telling us too, is like, these are going to be the signs. So make sure that you save as many people along the way.
Kind of got me thinking now too, right? We say that a lot of people are more open and expressing their faith, but at the same time, the world is supposedly more evil than it's ever been, right? There's racism, like apparent. People are not even scared to show it anymore. Hatred, you know, politics are the main dividing factor. It's kind of weird how that can be happening, but at the same time, more people are expressing their faith. You would think that if more people are expressing their faith and that, you know, more people are following Jesus, that the other stuff wouldn't be happening. But it's weird how that happens, but at the same time, you know, evil and hatred are more apparent as well. So it kind of gets you thinking like, oh, so what's really going on then? What's really happening? Are we really getting more evil? Or are we really getting more towards God? Or, you know, it's kind of like a conflict there in my head, and I'm trying to like make clear.
Yeah. I think that's a good question that you're bringing up. I like to believe that we are getting closer to God and things are starting to become better. And I base that off of experience. I base that off of what I'm able to see and talk to actual people, whether it's my people I have a relationship with or even random people I meet out in the streets, right? And I like to believe that a lot of media try to scare us and make it seem as if certain things are way worse, you know? But that's why I don't like to believe in that so much, and I like to believe in first the Bible, what God actually says, and then firsthand experience, you know, rather than just going based off media, for example, you know.
I think you're touching on a really good point. The internet is not a real place. It's not a real place. What's real is what you get to experience within your own community and around the people that are around you. And I think that fear sells.
Mm-hmm.
Fear sells, sex sells, politics, divisive politics sells. And I think that you think about the people up top. I think the people up top are the ones that are the evil. And because they have more influence, they're able to show more of that. And they're able to have more influence on trying to convince us that the world is so divided, so hated. But I think you go all over the world, I guarantee you, no matter where you go, you're going to run into people and you don't have no idea what they believe, no idea what their politics are, but you're going to be able to have a great time and connect with them, because as humans, as people, we understand that, hey, you know what? We're all just trying to do our best. We're all just trying to do the best that we can with what we got. And we're trying to provide for our families, take care of ourselves, you know what I mean? But the internet will try to tell you that we're so divided, that we hate each other, that it's this big left versus right. But that's not the case at all. We're all neighbors, and we're all able to live in a community that I think embraces God. I went to a graduation ceremony today, and you know, they all say, you know, let's bow our heads and pray, and no one protests and say, why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Everyone respectfully bow their heads and close their eyes, and we pray together. And I think that we have these aspects of our community. This is what's more important than what's on the internet, because if you look on the internet, it's exactly what you're saying. Look on the internet, everyone hates each other, everyone's evil, you know, the Satan's running rampant. But if you live in the real world, if you talk to people, it's the opposite. It's nothing but love. It's nothing but, and of course you have people here and there that are, you know, the bad apples, but
no one's perfect. Yeah.
But no one's perfect. No community is perfect. But at the end of the day, majority of people that you're going to meet in the real world, they're going to treat you just as good as anybody else would.
Yeah, and I've noticed personally, and I'm sure I can say this for all of us, I've taken kind of a step back from paying attention what goes on social media so much. And ever since I kind of did that, I've noticed more peace. You know, I'm not stressing. I'm not over here trying to pick a side like what's right, what's wrong, because I know what's right. We know what's right. God, you know? And ever since I kind of took a step back from social media, especially when it comes to political news or just news outlets in general, outside of course, community news, I've noticed more peace within myself where I'm not having to stress so much about specifically politics, bro. Because I used to be in that realm, and it used to just cause stress, division, conflict, and that's just no peace in there, you know? But once I kind of took a step back and started learning truth, which is from the Bible, I've been more open and overall more peaceful and been being able to actually meet strangers, communicate with them well, and we may be completely two different people coming from two completely different backgrounds. More than likely we disagree on everything, but still being able to have a genuine and peaceful interaction. So,
Exactly, and I think those are the times where we get to actually show who we are as believers, right? Like it's kind of how whenever he talked about earlier on, it was just like you are the salt and the light. You know, you're the one that you're the light that shines, and you're the salt that adds flavor. And so I think that as believers, whenever we're around people, you know what I mean, we're supposed to be the ones that, hey, you know, we make people feel good, we make people feel safe, at peace. You can't do that if you're on your phone every time and you're arguing on Twitter. You know, you're sharing all your beliefs and calling people all sorts of names on Facebook. You know what I mean? You can't. You How are you representing Christ in that way? And so, whenever I look at what Jesus called us to do, he said, "Love your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your minds, and love your neighbor as yourself." It doesn't say post your politics on Facebook, talk crap about people on Twitter. That's not what he said. He said, "Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your God with all your heart, all your soul, and your mind. Just love your neighbor. That's it."
and he literally also, I believe it's in Matthew, could be in Proverbs, don't remember exactly, but I also remember he literally warns us about the influence of the Sadducees and the Pharisees,
Yeah,
you
it's in here.
know, and when you compare that to today, who is that? It's these bigger social media outlets. You know, you got to be careful with what you're taking in, because like how I'm mentioning, based off personal experience, when I was taking all that influence in, all that energy in, it was just negative. It was just causing conflict, not only within myself, but with peers, and that's not a good way to live.
Exactly. And staying off of the news, staying off of Twitter, staying off of all those things, man, like you realize that it's just a cancer. It's a place that people get bold on the internet because they know it's not a real place. It's not real. Meet with people, talk to people. You'll see what the real world's actually like. And you'll realize, you know what? Like I said, everyone's just trying to do the best they can. And that's it. And don't talk, to someone sideways and they won't talk to you sideways. Of course, there's some people who just they are who they are. You can't control that. But you can't let that ruin what 99% of people are. They're cool. I can name countless interactions. I had one interaction today with a beautiful older woman. Beautiful older woman. She was there for her grandson. And I just, I was like, "Oh, is that your grandson?" She was like, "Yes, it is." And you could tell she was very proud. I was like, "Congratulations. I'm happy for you." And she just, she's so sweet. I never talked to this woman in my life. I don't know her. But we were able to share that human connection right there. And that's what's beautiful about this life, this earth, is that we get to share it with all these other humans on the planet that we don't know. But I think we get to approach it. We choose how we approach it. Are we going to be negative, mean, hateful, spiteful, or are we going to be kind, loving, generous, and are we going to try to spread the love of Christ? If we're doing that, then this world's going to be a lot better place than as if we approach it with hate and toxicity. No. But yeah. This is good, man. I liked it.
Thank
it
you
was
for clearing
great
that up.
pod.
It makes a lot of sense. It's just, man, can't even imagine how draining and exhausting it must be to be chronically online, and
So,
every little thing offends you, and just talking mess to somebody that doesn't even know who you are.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
And I'm sure we can all say this. We've been victims of that, bro. Like I know I can say that I fell victim of that because I used to be a part of that. I used to be like, "Oh no, this side's right, that side's wrong," and that just stirs up and causes conflict when in reality that has little to no impact. I have yet to see like a major impact of my life from which political party that I choose to represent, quote unquote. I've yet to see any major effect in my life. I still got to get up. I still got to go to work. I still got to handle my business and take care of my people.
if anything, it just takes from you.
Exactly.
It takes. But then as soon as we start moving that tribalism towards politics and we start moving that towards right here, all that energy that we put into politics, now we're putting it into this, and now we're seeing a greater return. Oh my gosh, I should have been doing this the whole time. Why was I so caught up in politics in the first place? It got me nowhere. If anything, it made me more miserable.
Yeah. And that's not to go to say that you can't be aware of it, that you can't read up on it and have your own personal opinion on it, but don't make it your whole life. Don't revolve your whole world around that, because there's so much more to life than social media.
Right.
There's a real world out here, and
there's a lot of great people.
and God calls us to live in the real world. He leads us down the right path.
Exactly. And I think instead of trying to get so super involved with politics, who cares? Are you close with Jesus? Do you know God? Are you saved? If you were to die today, would you go to heaven? You know what I mean? If you can't answer that question, but you can answer all this political trivia, who cares? The other day you're gonna die. What can you do anyways? Do you really think like that your opinion on Facebook is gonna change the world? Like, no. Let's be honest.
Doing their 4 likes.
You're just falling.
I agree with them.
You're falling in the cycle. You're falling in the endless cycle. You're the donkey chasing the carrot with a stick. You know what I mean? Like you're not really going anywhere. It's not doing anything for you. If anything, it's putting up these barriers that people maybe they would have felt free to approach you, but now they see all your opinions online, and now they're like, maybe I shouldn't approach this person. And now you're making it harder to connect with people because you're so chronically online, as opposed to the person who's, you know what, I don't speak on any of that. All I speak on is this, because this is what's true. I don't care what Donald Trump says. I don't care what any president says. I don't care what any representative says. I care what Jesus says. That's all that matters to me. If you speak what Jesus speaks, cool, I'm all for you. I don't care what aisle you align with. I don't care what political side or whatever. If you speak what this man speaks, you speak what God speaks, by all means, I'm there for you. I'm by your side. I don't care what race or what gender, what political side. I don't care. None of that. Socioeconomic status, none of that. If you're preaching the word of God, shoot, you got my support. And so I think that's the part where it's just it's ugly. Politics is ugly.
You got to humble yourself. You got to put your pride to the side. Take a look in the mirror and change there. Grow.
Gotta grow. Now you know. But that's it. Yeah, it's been a great episode today. Started a new book of the Bible. That's right. And as we know, we're coming up on the end of this one.
Congratulations, Confessions. He did it.
Yeah.
Read a book. It's crazy. Read my first book at 24 years old, from start to finish.
Yeah.
And look how much growth.
Yeah.
Just that short period of time.
I always like going up to when I'm like, I'm gonna try to read the Bible. I would always start in the very beginning, first line, Book of Genesis. In the beginning, there's whatever,
Yeah.
and I would never get far because I was like, I don't get it. It's like, what am I reading? I didn't know you had to like strategically try and look for certain books, and certain books tell you about different, like, who Jesus was or who his disciples were. Like, there's different parts of all that, and Proverbs, like wisdom. I didn't know all that. So
I think that you should always start with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You should always start because that's the foundation of Christianity. That's what everything depends upon. But then, it's kind of like how I was telling Raul this last one. It's like, imagine you just watched Endgame, and then that was it. You never watched any other Marvel movie before that. Sure, Endgame, it's a great experience. It tells the full story and everything. Like, it's a climax, right? But if you didn't watch all the other movies, and it's like, well, they're talking about all these things, and I don't even know what they're talking about. All these things that happened in the past, I don't know about. So now we're getting the context in the Old Testament that's going to help us appreciate what's happening in the New Testament that much more, because we're going to understand exactly what Jesus is talking about, because he just references the Old Testament every time he's talking, because mind you, the New Testament wasn't written whenever Jesus was alive. They had the Old Testament. So he's reading all the Old Testament, all the laws. He references all the old figures that, like Abraham, like David, like Elijah, like Isaiah. He's referencing all of them. But if you don't understand who they are, it's like all those movies you haven't watched leading up to the main one. So I think with reading in the Old Testament, it's like, man, now we're getting all the context, and we can appreciate what Jesus did and understand it just a little bit more.
That's exciting. So the Old Testament was before he was born, right?
Yep.
How did it work so that he was speaking on the Old Testament even though he didn't know, or he just knew?
Well, one,
Because-
he's God, but two, mind you, he didn't start his ministry till he was 30 years old. So that means he had 30 years to prepare. And I mean, of course, he knows the word. He is the word flesh, the word that became flesh. So, but at the end of the day, he had to speak in what people already knew, so that he could speak in a way that people understood him. And what he understood is that, well, the Old Testament is what's there, the people that were there at that time. So it's like, okay, I need to speak through the Old Testament so they know what I'm talking about. And that the people that actually know the word don't know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, because if you didn't know the word and you were just like, well, what the heck is this dude talking about? You're like missing the whole point. It goes right over your head. But if you know the Old Testament, it's like, oh, shoot. This is exactly what it talked about in this verse. He's talking about it right now. This is literally happening. Like, he's fulfilling this prophecy that was prophesied 400 years ago. He's doing it right now in real time in 4K. You know what I mean? So
the Old Testament was already written before?
it was already written and understood, and that's what the Pharisees and the Sadducees had at the time.
As we finish the Gospel of Matthew, it's basically us finishing watching Endgame, and now we're going back to watch Iron Man 1 with Genesis.
Dang.
Yeah.
Iron Man
To
1
understand.
was a banger.
To understand it,
I understand it. And there's a lot of amazing stories in the Old Testament, some of which I know, some of which I know of, some of which I don't know at all. And so I'm excited to read with every single one of y'all. And again, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Number One Podcast, the World Confessions Podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow us on all of our socials. We're uploading constantly, non-stop, non-ending content for confession. So follow us on all of our socials so that you can stay up to date with that. And then if you don't like the long form, if you just got TikTok brain rot, then every Wednesday we're dropping recap episodes, highlight episodes of the previous, of the live streams. So if you don't have time, or maybe you checked in and you had to leave, then at least you can watch the highlight video and you'll get the main gist of what occurred. So yeah.
Also, before we go, did Cowboy Carter say his story at all? Or
No, he didn't say his
he
story.
didn't say his story at all?
No.
I was just curious.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we got for today.
Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on them post notifications.
Drop a comment. We'll talk to y'all on the next one very soon. Next week. Next Friday.